shortly set up my new filming area. I just didn't feel like moving the shit today, but I wanted to make a quick video because I just need to get some shit out of my mind and my body and in a record format, because these thoughts keep circling around in my head and I don't think it is helpful for me. I don't know. I don't think it's helpful. I don't know. It's gonna, my brain is gonna keep doing this. I'm going to keep thinking of the shit. I'm going to keep thinking about it. So I don't see how getting on here and talking about it is going to hurt me. I think it's only going to help me be able to look back at myself and my thoughts, and I think this is good. So don't mind me. I'm just having a rough few days. And yes, I'm still in the same shirt I wore a couple days ago, and I haven't showered either. But don't mind any of that. Luckily, I'm by myself here, so nobody. Well, I wouldn't care either way, but it's not like you can. Whatever. Never mind. Yeah. As you can tell from maybe from my speech even, I'm just kind of all over the place. And I'm having anxiety, but mostly I'm just fucking angry. I woke up fine, and then after I had my electrolyte water, I was fucking mad. I keep having this recurring nightmare or dream or whatever, and it always takes place in the house that I was, or this recurring dream I've had like the last 4 or 5 nights probably. I would call it a nightmare. All of them are nightmares, I would say, but they have all taken place in the house that I lived in with my ex in Oregon. And it's so bizarre. The people that are in my dream at that house, I didn't even know at the time, or I knew them at different times, so I don't remember my other dreams very well, but last night I dreamt that my ex-boss was the father of my other ex from Alaska, and my ex from Alaska and I were like getting together in the room that me and my ex-husband would slept in for a year or however long it was. And I remember my ex-boss was in my dream. My ex-boss was sitting at the kitchen counter area. Like, I don't remember exactly what he was saying, but the impression I got was that he did not approve of our relationship, me and my ex from Alaska. And he didn't think it was good for either of us. And it just, I don't know, I woke up and I was fine, and then it just kept coming into my head that this night, I'm calling it a nightmare because it was very unpleasant. And it took place in that house, and I feel like any dream or nightmare, any dream that has anything to do with my ex in Oregon, has anything at all to do with it, if it looks similar, if it involves him in any way, I consider that to be a nightmare. So yeah, I don't know where that came from, but as I'm drinking my water and doing my morning exercises and shit, I don't hear, but this dream just keeps coming to my brain, and it fucking makes me mad, and I get really mad and upset and bothered. And so I've just been irritated like all morning, in a bad mood, and I have a lot of feelings. And first of all, I don't remember 14 or 15 years. And I enjoyed it. I enjoyed helping the clients, and I most recently did exclusively personal injury law, so it was car accidents, pretty much, some slip and falls, and that was pretty much it. And I enjoyed that part of it. It was very, not repetitive, but there's a template, and I guess that's true with all cases, but it's just personal injury cases in my head are very easy to follow, and I really enjoyed being able to help the clients. And one of the biggest things important for me in that job was making sure that clients' medical expenses were taken care of appropriately, that everything was paid appropriately, because with insurance and car insurance, it can get fucked up really easily. So that was always really important to me, to make sure that all the billing was done correctly and to get the clients the best deal, basically, for the money they're paying for their medical expenses due to the negligence of another party. So the person who's hit, whose fault the collision it's not, or who is not at fault for the collision, so the person who is not at fault for the collision should not be responsible, and should, in my head, they shouldn't have to pay for any of the bills incurred, any of the expenses incurred because of their injuries, because of treatment for their injuries. So in Oregon, I really liked working at a firm there, because I was still a paralegal, so I didn't have the freedom that a lawyer would have, but I had a fair amount of freedom, supervised freedom, to work out those cases and, go through the billing and make sure it was all done correctly, work through the subrogation to make sure that the client was getting the best deal in terms of what they paid back to the insurers for payment of their medical treatment at the end of the claim. And I really enjoyed reviewing the medical records and really studying them and sort of being the expert for the lawyer with regard to the medical records. And so I really liked that about my job, that I could really dive in, and I wasn't the lawyer, and I didn't have the responsibilities of the lawyer, but I was basically doing the work for the lawyer, the prep work, outside of trial and negotiation and stuff, where the attorney would become way more involved. So I really enjoyed that part of my job in Oregon. And when I moved to Washington, I had to move because I had to get away from my ex, and I just needed to get out of that fucking state. So I moved to Washington, and I'd gotten a job at another personal injury firm, and I got there, and the guy was just a fucking asshole. He was just a fucking asshole, and it occurred to me very quickly that he did not give a fuck about how these clients' cases were handled. He just took personal injury cases. Looking back on it now, I believe that he only takes personal injury cases so he can have that easy money coming in. He doesn't give a fuck about making sure they're done correctly, basically, and making sure that everything is done for the client in the best possible way, which is how I believe cases should be worked. So he also did criminal law, and he was really distracted with that. And when I got up here, I was hoping and thinking that he was going to allow me to have that freedom to work the cases under supervision, of course, but to make sure that everything for the client was done appropriately in personal injury cases, because that's what I was good at. That's what I am good at. And I have a lot of experience doing that. So even though the laws are slightly different in Oregon versus Washington, it doesn't take me very long to figure all that shit out. And with a little guidance, I'm basically a rock star at my job when I'm given the ability to do my job. And so he was just a dick. He was a dick. He would yell, and not at me, but there were times when he would raise his voice. I don't know if it was a client, or he would yell about clients, and then he got snippy at the assistant at one time. And like I said, I'm traumatized from my ex's abuse, so every time there would be aggression in the office, I would like panic. I would fucking panic, and I wasn't taking Lexapro at that time. So I just could not deal with that panic. Like, I had too much default panic in me already. Having him around made me fucking insane. So I got another job. I only worked for that first attorney in Washington for a couple months or something, and then I got another job on completely the other side of town, and I was really excited for this job because, again, I thought that I was going to have a certain amount of freedom to be able to work the cases to the greatest benefit of the client. And they had their firm set up a bit differently, where they had different people working on different parts of the case. And since I was the paralegal, or I was going to be the paralegal, my duty was to make sure everything was done appropriately. That's what I'm trained to do. Make sure things are going through smoothly. Make sure the client is getting, every bit of benefit that they're entitled to, and make sure everything is billed correctly, and, work out deals with the providers so that the client takes home more money at the end of the day, because they're the ones who were injured due to the negligence of another person. So out of everybody, the client deserves and is entitled to the best possible outcome and the highest possible dollar for their injuries and experience in a collision or what have you that caused them injury. And I thought this firm was pristine, and they specialize in a specific type of injury, and so I was super excited. And then I get there, and I felt like, first, they didn't make room for me. I felt like there wasn't a place for me because they had two paralegals. And then I think 2 or 3 support people on top of that. So one paralegal would work the cases in the pre-trial stage, and then the second paralegal, whose job I was going to take, would work the post, or just cases who were in litigation. So in my head, I guess I assumed that I would have greater ability, greater freedom to review and work the cases and make sure everything was done appropriately for the cases in trial. And first of all, they wanted me to be trained for months by the existing paralegal who had been there for like 30 years or some shit. And I'm just, at that point that I'd started that job, I'd been a paralegal for 14 or 15 years. I'd worked in specifically personal injury for like 6 or 7 years. I'm familiar with how to look shit up and research shit, and at that time either, I did not like making decisions on my own, and I knew that I wasn't able to make decisions. Like, if there was a decision to be made, I have to go to the attorney. That's always been, I just know to do that because there are limitations on what the paralegal can do, and I was never given the ability to do my job, I felt like, because they wanted me to sit next to the paralegal who'd been there for 30 years, and I was going fucking nuts because this woman was just so hard to listen to. She, first of all, assumed I didn't know anything, and they wanted me to do her job exactly the way that she did, and I'm not gonna do shit exactly the way that she did. She's like, much older than me. She's been around for a long time. I understand that the way that she does things works for her, but it's not necessarily going to work for me. I'm of a newer generation. So that was much would be enough for me. Like I said, if if I have questions, I am used to working directly with the attorneys, so that's how I work with the attorneys. I tend to not. I just never really had to do it before. My job and the boundaries of my job have always been very clear to me, so I felt like they didn't give me space to find my own little niche in the job. So I guess it was just a little mismatch of personality or something. But yeah, so after being there like a couple months or something, the boss's wife, the owner's wife, who calls herself the office manager or some shit, she sat me down all serious and was like, well, I expected you to like sit beside her at her desk for like 3 months before you even start touching cases. And I'm like, dude, I'm sorry. I was shocked when she said that, and then she said a few things about like my prior relationship and shit that just were so inappropriate. And I had just come out of leaving my ex. Like, this was over a year ago, so it was in October of 20, I believe, that I started it. I think it was on Halloween that I started that job, so it was only 6 months after I'd cut off my ex and I'd moved here, and I'd had that fucked up experience with that first attorney I worked for in Bellevue. And so yeah, I was still really fucked up and panicked and everything, and that's why I did at that time, I did not have patience. And maybe you've gathered from my videos that I am just by default a sarcastic person and kind of a dark person. So when I get annoyed with people, or if people get on my nerves, that sarcasm tends to come out of me. I will get a tone if I'm pissed. So that was one thing that the woman I was replacing kept complaining about, was that I was sarcastic. And I explained and looking back, maybe I shouldn't have told them about this, but I wanted them to know, like, why I was the way that I was, and I wanted them to know that I wasn't expecting to be so panicked forever, that I was just coming out of this physically abusive relationship, and I was still affected by it. So I told them that, and yeah, it really hurt me a lot. It felt like a shot to the fucking chest to be fired from that job, because I opened up about that, and I did the best that I could, and all that I wanted to do was the best work for the clients. And I couldn't do that because they wouldn't let me, because I wasn't doing it exactly how they wanted to do it. And whatever. I'm not going to, and what I'd said to the woman at one point, the woman that I was replacing, I told her, because I was talking about the prior attorney I'd worked for in Bellevue, I said, I'm not going to dumb down my work for any reason when it's to the detriment of the client. I'm not going to do that. And I was kind of getting that same vibe at this pristine law firm, because in going through some of the cases and looking at some of the audits and stuff, there were like errors and shit, and a lot of the billing wasn't done appropriately, and that shit really bothers me. Like, when I was a part of that field, like, the job of the lawyer is to make sure that the client's case is handled to the best possible ability, and that was my goal. And I think it's a disservice to the client if that's not done, if their case is not done to the best of the attorney's ability in every possible way. Like, this is why you have staff to go through medical bills and make sure everything's done right, and get, deals for the clients and stuff, instead of lawyers maintaining their partnerships or their whatever with doctors and shit. I feel like it's a disservice to the client to not work out a deal for the client's bill so you, the lawyer, can maintain a better relationship with the doctor. I think that's fucking bullshit because the attorney's responsibility is to the client. It's not to the fucking doctors who treated them. And I would bring up these little like billing errors and stuff that I would see in people's work, and I'd bring it up to the lawyer, and they just didn't care. They didn't want to get involved in like some tension with other members of the office, and I just thought that was fucking dumb. Like, I wanted to be able to work the cases that I was working on. So, oh yeah, I remember the catalyst for me getting fired was there was a holiday, I think, on a Monday. I think it was Martin Luther King Day. Or maybe it was a Friday. I don't remember. But we were supposed to get paid on the weekday before the holiday. And I remember being really upset that I hadn't gotten paid yet when I was expecting to be paid. And I talked to the receptionist and she'd gotten paid. And I didn't feel comfortable asking anybody else if they'd gotten paid, but I remember asking the office manager. I think I texted her or something, because that was they texted a lot. They had a group chat, and I felt comfortable, maybe inappropriately so, but I felt comfortable texting her about it because I was really anxious about not getting paid for a number of reasons. I was having a lot of money trouble. I'd just gotten divorced. I just moved so I could be closer to the office. Like I said, I'd just gotten divorced and I needed to get paid. And I remember texting her on it was either it may have been on the weekend, like on a Sunday, I think. And I asked her, I can't remember what I said exactly, but I was just like, hey, I'm really anxious about this, and do you know when I'm gonna get paid? And she was like, you gotta wait or something, and I don't know, she just said some bullshit, and it really upset me and I think I let her know that the receptionist had gotten paid already, so why wasn't I paid? There had never been a problem with me being paid on time before, so I ended up having to wait the holiday weekend, like a 3-day weekend, and then Tuesday came, the beginning of the week, and I still hadn't been paid, and I was like, what the fuck? And I asked her again, and I was so stressed out from this because it also is like, it was a real trigger for me because I felt when I was in my abusive relationship with my ex in Oregon, I felt like he at times would control finances, and that stressed me the fuck out and made me extremely anxious. And so I told her that, like, this is causing turmoil for me inside, and I need to know when I'm getting paid. And I remember what really bothered me was that she wouldn't offer to call ADP to find out when I was getting paid or to look into it or anything. And I eventually asked her, and then she was like, okay, yeah, I'll do that tomorrow or something like that. And I remember she called me that day or something, and we'd been on the phone for like 45 minutes or something, and I was upset. I remember like shaking and crying, just about almost in tears. And I remember bawling after phone with her, and I was so upset, and I was angry, and because I felt so controlled, and I felt so boxed in, and I felt like they had control over my money when they were supposed to pay me by a certain day, and other people in the firm got paid on a certain day, so why was my pay being held up? And I think I ended up getting paid, like, not on Wednesday, but on Thursday or some bullshit. And that was after I got fired, so I called in sick one day, and then I had that 45-minute conversation with his wife, the owner's wife, where she gave me nothing but excuses and no explanation, and didn't offer to, find out why my fucking pay was late. So it just felt like they didn't give a fuck about me. They didn't even give a fuck about paying me on time, and this is supposed to be a pristine law firm. Then why aren't you paying me on time? I don't want to say that it was like a direct thing to hurt me, because I just feel like that's highly unlikely. And looking at it from a more objective stance, what fucking reason was there to do that to me? And then if you are the accountant, or if you are in charge of payroll or whatever, if you consider yourself to be an office manager, why are you not making sure that people are getting paid on time? Why? It just made no fucking sense. Like, they were okay with me being paid 4 or 5 days late, and then the lawyer was justifying it. The owner was justifying it, like, oh, you would have been paid by this day, and I would have wrote you a check, and blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, that's not the point. If everybody else is getting paid, if I'm expecting to be paid on this day, and my expectation is valid, which it was, there is no reason for me not to be paid. It's not like they're hurting for money. They're a fucking personal injury firm that specializes. They make fucking good money. It's not like it's a fucking money problem. So that really upset me a lot that they did that, and it felt like a huge betrayal. So he fired me, and I was stunned, because he was like, well, you kept my wife on the phone for 45 minutes, and I'm just thinking, well, okay, if that's what she's gonna say. Like, I had questions, and I kept asking her questions because I wasn't understanding why she was doing absolutely nothing to make sure I was getting paid on time when she's the fucking office manager. If they had had an actual payroll person, I think that conversation would have went way differently. They would have, when I've worked with other payroll people, they get it, people want to be paid on time. If we're going into a 3-day weekend and we're supposed to be paid on like a Sunday or something, like, I'm pretty sure the employer is supposed to pay the employees before the weekend starts. So, like, it's not late. The pay is not late. And it really upset me. Clearly, still I have emotions about it, because I just felt like they were so full of shit. And I think the worst thing about that firm and that owner, lawyer, was that he yelled at me while I was gathering my shit and in shock about what was happening. It was like, you have no empathy, or you need to gain some empathy. And I'm just like, I was stunned. Like, are you fucking serious? Are you fucking serious? Are you fucking serious? That sticks in my head more than anything. Like, you're gonna tell me after 6 months after, or it may have been more like 9 months at that point, 9 months after I finally left a severely abusive, physically and mentally abusive relationship, you're gonna fucking tell me that I need to gain some empathy because I have an attitude with people who are fucking annoying and who are dicks. Because I don't fucking bend over backwards for assholes who don't do right by me either. wanted to do the best work that I could for the cases and for the clients. So after that experience, I just decided, fuck it, I don't think I can work for another attorney again, because if I can open up to somebody like that and they spit it back in my face and have zero understanding or empathy for me after I've opened up about my shit, and after I pointed out, hey, this is something I struggle with and that I'm working on, and they're not going to allow me to be me and to grow and to yield, and fuck him. I just couldn't believe that was what he fucking said to me, and it shocks me. And I really wanted to leave a fucking shitty review on their Google page saying these people completely lack empathy. They don't give a shit about the quality of the cases. They just want the fucking money, and they want that good review on their Google profile so they can keep bringing in the money. That's all they care about, is the fucking money. But I didn't. Because I didn't want to start shit, but fucking I really wanted to, and even to this day I still want to, because it feels like such a facade to me. If you can tell someone like me that I need to gain empathy, it's so fucking ironic. So fucking ironic, in that he was yelling at me, raising his voice at me. I wasn't allowed to say bye to the other attorneys in there, and there was one other lawyer that I particularly was closer with because he was really easy to talk to. He was very kind, and he took time to talk to me, and I told him, and I remember I started crying at one point when I told him that I'd been through, because it took me a while to open up about it too. I didn't tell people that I had been through that right away. It took me a while, and I trusted another lawyer in that firm, or not with the firm. He actually just rented space from them, and he was such a kind man. And I think he really cares about his clients, unlike the person that he was renting the space from. But I had opened up to this other lawyer about what I'd been through and how fucked up I was because of it, and I really enjoyed working with him because he listened to me, and I felt like he fucking cared, and he talked about his wife and stuff, and he still really believed in my quality of work, and that meant so much to me. And I don't know if I ever thanked him. But he saw how good I was at my job, and how much I cared about the shit. And I'm really grateful for that. It just is so crazy to me how common shitty people are, and they seem like they're good people, but they're not. And that is my experience with that other firm that specializes in a certain type of injury. I don't think that they actually give a shit about their clients. I think they just want the fucking money, and that is disgusting. In my head, I think that's disgusting. And yeah, it obviously still bothers me to this day. I don't know why. I don't know. Anyway, so I've had 2 or 3 nightmares the last 5 or 6 nights or something that have included that old boss from that shitty fucking firm, and I don't know why, and it's driving me fucking insane. I can't figure, like, I know that dreams are all about, like, the brain. They're all about the brain coming up with various possibilities, sorting through events and various ways that the events could have happened, and I can't figure out why I keep dreaming about this apathetic asshole. Like, what is it? And it's kind of just making me fucking mad, because I just want to move on from them, you know? That was really hard being fired at that point, because I was already severely depressed, and I was going to work because that's what I had to do. Like, I had to make money and pay for myself, like rent and expenses, food. And when I got fired, I just lost, like, all motivation whatsoever to do anything for myself. I couldn't stand the thought of working for another lawyer. I couldn't stand the thought of working. I couldn't stand the thought of... I wanted to die, basically. I didn't see what point there was in continuing my life. And I'm really glad that I made it through that. And then, but it was so fucking hard. It was so fucking hard. And then my cat died in the summer. My baby girl I brought her from Alaska. Her name is Freya. She's actually up there now. But I miss her so much. She was such a good girl, and that fucking broke my heart when she died. So it was really hard. And I'd been to therapy in Oregon, and I went a couple times after I got fired because I just felt like I was losing my shit at that point. And everything just sort of stopped. I couldn't go on with anything. And then my cat died, and then eventually I started accepting the fact that I needed to take more time for myself and heal. So I accepted that, and I dedicated myself to figuring out how to heal myself. And it took me a long time to figure out that I need to feel my feelings fully, all of them. I need to feel all of them fully in order for me to have any chance whatsoever of getting better and working through my shit. So that's what I've been doing. And a few months ago, I finally went to my doctor and said, I'm just so fucking depressed, and I still had this, like, this huge ball of panic, fucking panic, and I can't even describe what that feels like. It felt like this pull in my chest, which after doing some reading, I think that's because of the vagus nerve and how the brain is connected to the gut via the vagus nerve. And when somebody is traumatized, or they're afraid, or their sympathetic nervous system that is activated, the brain will send a signal down the vagus nerve, or send signals down the vagus nerve to cause some reaction in the body. And that was on 24/7 for me after I left my ex. just this fucking horrible panic 24/7, 100% of the time. I felt this ferociously strong sense of panic in my body all the time, and my mind was just fucking racing all the time. There was nothing I could do to change it, and despite the panic I felt, despite my brain fucking going 1,000 miles a minute, I still had almost no motivation whatsoever, no energy, no ability, hardly any ability to do anything for myself. Like, everything felt like such a huge fucking burden. Everything was so difficult for me at that time. And that's gotten a little bit easier, and I really have to thank Lexapro and my work on myself. I did a lot of work on myself. Learning how to change my thinking processes and affirmations, meditation, to really tap into my feelings and emotions that I'd buried and ignored for so long, because I realized that the only way I was going to get better was by feeling everything inside of me. So I started doing that. Before taking Lexapro, there was like, I don't know, a year, 6 months to 9 months, something like that, where I was doing every fucking thing I could, as well as I could, as often as I could, with my severe fucking depression and anxiety and panic. I was doing everything that I could do to take care of myself and change my thinking into positive thinking. Change my negative thoughts into positive thoughts. Try to shift my perspective. And I'm really, really glad and grateful that I did that work. And a few months ago, I went to my doctor and I said, I've been working on this for years, and despite what I do, I cannot get rid of this panic or even lessen it. Like, I still felt so fucked up in my head and my body, and there was nothing that I could do to fix it. And I couldn't live like that anymore, because I wanted to die, pretty much. Like, I told her I was passively suicidal. I didn't give a fuck if I was killed or not, or if I died, because what was the point in living? There was no fucking point in my mind at that point of continuing life. I didn't feel like it was going to get any better. I lost hope. I felt hopeless and helpless. So, yeah, and my brother had told me that he was taking Lexapro, and so I said, hey, my brother is taking this, and I would like to try it. And I'm so glad that I did, because I couldn't even believe how well Lexapro worked and how quickly it worked. I remember they started me on 5 milligrams, and I took the 5 milligrams the day I fucking got the prescription, and I'm not even kidding, within 5 minutes, I had noticed a change. I noticed it lessen the panic. I couldn't even fucking believe it. I couldn't believe it. It took me a couple months to get adjusted to the medication. Like, I remember being just ravenously hungry when I was first on it, and when they adjusted the dose, or when we adjusted the dose. But I got through it, and it wasn't that bad, honestly. And I had such a huge problem with eating. Like, the panic that I had, I did not want to eat. I did not want to eat. I didn't feel like eating ever, and food didn't taste good. I was smoking weed too, so one would think that would help with appetite, but it did not for me. I was using weed more to calm my anxiety, but it did not fucking help my appetite at all. And I I was barely eating anything. There were days when I wouldn't eat. I mean, I was hardly eating enough to sustain life. I lost weight. I had been losing weight when I was in the relationship, and then afterwards I lost even more weight. I was basically skin and bones and underweight, and I ended up seeing a nutritionist, and that really helped me get back on track and really helped me find foods that I can eat on the regular that I am down with, that I enjoy, like peanut butter, for example. Organic peanut butter. But, yeah, we kept increasing the dose of the Lexapro, and I can't even believe how much it has helped me. It is unbelievable. Not only has it chipped away at the panic feeling that I could not get to go away, but I feel like it just makes my brain, it helps my brain function the way I remember it functioning when I was younger, and even better because I'm not in a traumatic or overly stressful situation at this point. Yes, I have the normal stresses of life, but I don't have people around me who are fucking assholes or fucking like taking from me. Right, I did, but I was able to cut them out of my life thanks to Lexapro, because I no longer was trapped by my own fear and my own panic and anxiety about shit. Like I said, I cannot even believe how much it has helped me. And I've wondered, will I need to be on this for the rest of my life? And yeah, it's a possibility, who knows? And if I do, that's totally fine with me, because I mean, I'd do anything not to live with that panic. That panic eliminated my will to live, so the medication really saved my life. Anyway, I kind of rambled on there. I'm not sure why I keep having these dreams. And I think I am angry with myself that I don't know why. And then I tell myself that, just because I don't know why at this time, like, I don't need to be angry with myself because I don't have all the answers. It's okay to not have the answers. And I know my brain is just exploring various paths, alternate paths, or possibilities. It's really interesting how a nightmare can completely throw me off. And I've been having nightmares like the last 4 or 5 nights. It's so weird. That was another thing I noticed too. When I was with my ex, I was so stressed out and panicked, like I said, that I completely stopped dreaming. I maybe, not completely, but over the course of 6 years that he and I were together, 3 years married, I had a very, very, very minute and it has been a good dream and a comforting dream. And I think it's really interesting that I really didn't have hardly any dreams when my ex and I were together, but I still dreamt about Daniel more than once. And those were the dreams that I remembered and still remember to this day. And I don't remember dreaming about anything else. During the time me and I were together, my ex and I never dreamt about my ex when he and I were together. I only dreamt about him after we divorced. And they were always fucking nightmares, always nightmares. But I thought my lack of dreaming during that time, when I was in that relationship, I thought my lack of dreaming had to do with me smoking weed, and it doesn't. For me, it had no effect on my dreams because I smoked weed. I mean, I still smoke. I still smoke, so. And I dream just about every night here. If I don't dream, that's abnormal now. It's abnormal for me not to dream now, so I don't think the weed had anything to do with my dreaming or not dreaming. I think it purely had to do with the stress, the distress, the fucking panic that I was in constantly in that relationship. Anyway, I'm having a rough few days, and I'm still going with it. I practiced Portuguese this morning, and it feels really good to record this and get these thoughts more or less in some other area than in my head only. I talk to myself a lot at home, and that helps. But it's different to record me talking and see it later. It just helps me in a different way. I'm not sure why yet, but I'm sure I'll figure that out eventually. So thank you so much for being a part of this. And I will make more ASMR videos soon. I actually have another one that I need to edit. I'm just taking things one baby step at a time at this point. And I'm doing the best that I can, so thank you so much for watching. Thank you. Thank you for watching. Thank you for watching and supporting my videos. I am working on a Patreon account, and I'm thinking about what other content I can offer in there, and maybe that will help me, and hopefully people will enjoy that or would enjoy that, because I need to make money, honestly. I need to make money, and I don't know how people will react to this, and I am a little bit worried about that. And on the other hand, I have no control over how people think of me. So I tell myself that I don't care, even though I do care to an extent. I just know that I have to prioritize myself over other people, and other people's opinions at this point in my life. So, with that in mind, I do not feel like I am in a place where I can work for another person yet, or a company, and be happy with myself. know if I would be here or not if I didn't have this time to myself. So I'm so grateful for that. And like I said, I'm so grateful to my family and to Lexapro because it's given me it's chipped away at my panic enough to allow me to find my creativity again and work on myself and work on other interests that I have and try to find some other way to financially support myself outside of working for some bullshit company who treats their employees like shit. Anyway, I really feel for people who have to deal with that, and I know there are good companies out there, but I don't feel that. I don't feel that right now. I haven't had that experience. So, thank you all. Thank you all for listening to my ranting, and soon I will upload more ASMR, more traditional ASMR. I'm just needing to take a few days to sort out my thoughts and emotions. So, thank you for being patient. Obrigado. Thank you, Mom. I love you. Thank you, Adam and Megan and Larry. Love you all. Love all of my family who supports me. Sigrid and David. I know I have other family that I haven't kept in good touch with, and that's just because I'm so depressed. And I was so depressed. I'm not as depressed now. It's just really hard for me to connect with people right now. It's really hard. Because I'm so in my shit, you know, I'm so in my own head, I'm so in my emotions and feeling things that I need to have the freedom in my relationships to say what I'm thinking about and what I'm feeling, and it's often dark, it's often, you know, I've just found that it's more common than I expected previously, that people are surface level, that, you know, there's so many more surfaceless. I don't know. I'm not trying to talk poorly of people. It's just so hard to find, for me, it's so hard to find people that can connect with me on the level that I feel I need a connection. And maybe I won't find that right now because I don't know what I've been through. I don't know the answers to this. I'm just having a rough day right now, and it's okay to not have all the answers, and it's gonna get better. I just need to keep taking care of myself, so that's what I'm gonna do, 1 hour at a time, 1 day at a time. Even though today is a rougher day, I still feel fucking miles ahead of where I was even 6 months ago. So I'm so grateful. I'm so grateful that even a rough day like today and the last few days are exponentially